So Roboquest controls are kind of a nightmare. The first thing you'll notice is the default stick sensitivity. Now for me, it's insanely high, and the reason it might be normal for you is that at 60 FPS, the speed of turning is actually sort of normal. So I'm assuming the devs just test their game at 60 FPS and nothing else. If you visit the actual Gamepad settings menu, it looks pretty nice. You have separate sensitivities for each axis, you have scope sensitivity, joystick dead zone slider, and invert look options for people who are weird, vibrations on and off, aim assist on and off, and a slider for magnetism. The gamepad acceleration setting is grouped with aim assist, which makes absolutely no sense, and the game correctly describes it as an increase in sensitivity when you keep turning in the same direction. This is in no way related to aim assist. Also, something the gamepad acceleration setting does is also enable gamepad deceleration, which means when you let go of your stick, the camera doesn't stop instantly, and instead the speed kind of winds down over time. Pretty hard to see, I think, but it's easy to feel that there's something wrong going on. Another weird aspect of the aim assist setting is that it affects the joystick dead zone for some reason. As you might be able to see on the overlay, hopefully, I have to tilt the stick 30% away from the middle to get any reaction from the in-game camera. This is a lot more than needed, a lot more than I would prefer, despite the dead zone being supposedly set to 0. If I disable aim assist completely, suddenly the dead zone decreases to just 8%, which is pretty reasonable. I don't know what's the logic behind that. A dead zone has also nothing to do with aim assist. The remaining 8% of the dead zone, I'm guessing, is related to the cuboid shaped axial dead zones. So when I tilt the stick to the side, I have to move it pretty far away vertically to see any vertical movement. I think that the size of this dead zone to the sides of each of the 4 main directions you can look is what's causing the extra 8% dead zone in the middle, because their shape is consistent across the range of the stick. Going back to gamepad magnetism for a moment, the game does not have bullet magnetism. It only has gamepad magnetism, as it calls it, so basically automatic tracking. This means you basically don't aim in this game. If you have this setting enabled, the game sticks to enemies pretty much as hard as you would expect from GTA 5, except here it usually actually locks onto a weak point of the enemy. If you go down the list of settings further, you again have some nice options. Sprint can be set to toggle for tapping, hold for holding where you release to stop sprinting, both where you can either tap to toggle sprinting on or hold and release to sprint and stop, and also auto, which sprints at all times when it's possible. Crouching can be set to holding, toggling, or the hybrid setting, and zooming into scopes is for some reason only available in holding or toggling, but not the hybrid option. You also have full button remapping. Something that can be pointed out is that pinging, which could be useful in co-op, isn't tied to any button, despite the button B being literally free from any mappings. I personally don't like sprinting by clicking the left stick, so I appreciate having the option to change that. The next problem to talk about is the stick response curve. Thankfully, the minimum dead zone of the right stick is at least reasonable, but the range of camera speeds mapped to the right stick is disappointing because it is way too narrow. The difference between your minimum speed and maximum speed is very low, so you will absolutely have to choose between being able to aim reasonably well or turn reasonably quickly. There's no good in between because the range of speeds is so narrow. The next natural step in this case, where the stick controls suck, is to try mapping the right stick or your gyro to a mouse. There's a slight problem with that here. If you listen as I walk forwards and turn the camera, both with the gamepad, you can hear the footsteps of my character. This is obviously correct. If I use the keyboard and the mouse to move and look around, you can also hear the footsteps. This is also correct. However, if you combine mouse input with gamepad input, suddenly you can also hear someone emptying a can of compressed air. I have no clue what this sound effect is supposed to be, why it's here, how it's even here, and I don't recognize it from any other point in the game. So it almost looks like it was made exclusively to happen in this weird scenario for no reason. Roboquest is currently in early access, so I hope the devs will take the time to improve their gamepad support and fix the issues I mentioned in the future.